Hi, I'm Melissa Griffiths from Bless This Mess, and today I'm going to teach you how to make pie crust. Pie crust is one of those things that feels a little bit finicky, but once someone shows you how to do it, it's actually not that hard. It took me a while to find a pie crust that I really liked, and my grandma had to show me how to do it a few times. Pie crust is really basic because it essentially is just flour and a fat, and so because it is so basic, changing up those variables is how you change the recipe. So I did a lot of experimenting. I have a recipe on my site. I tried lard, I tried shortening, I tried everything, and I did my tests to see which one I thought worked the best. What I found is that a butter and shortening pie crust is the best. An all butter pie crust, it tastes delicious, but it has some issues when it comes to structure. It is a little bit too tender, and you're fluting around the edge, or sometimes if you do designs or cut out shapes, it would just kind of melt a little bit and not keep a nice edge. All shortening was fine, but it was lacking some of that richness that butter brings, so combining the two was my absolute favorite. So this is butter flavored Crisco. It actually comes in a little stick and you just cut it like butter. You'll find it next to other shortening and oil in the refrigerated section. And then this is 6 tablespoons of cold butter. And you can cut this into little pieces. My favorite trick, we're gonna get this guy floury, so he's not in our way. My favorite trick is to grate it. I'm actually gonna hold it in this so it's not too, so that my hand doesn't make it any extra warm. And I'm not a total purist. I don't start with cold margarine. I don't start with cold flour. I just don't think that those little extra steps give you enough of a difference to do them. You can if you want. The coldness helps to create flaky layers because it keeps the flour and the fat separated just a little bit. And so if they don't fully combine, that's what the layers are. And everybody likes a flaky pie crust. Okay, so that's how I combine my butter. And then I use a pastry blender. You can also use 2 knives and kind of go back and forth. But a pastry blender works a lot better if you've already cut up that hard butter. And we're just gonna get the butter a little floury so that it combines better. So just gonna combine it until it has pieces of fat about the size of peas. Oop, almost forgot my salt. I add that with the flour. A little salt goes a long way. If you know that you're making a sweet pie crust, you can add a few tablespoons of sugar, but it's not necessary. So I have, can you see, there's small pieces about the size of peas. It's not completely worked in. So we're gonna make a little center, and we're gonna be using ice cold water. And this is how my mom did it. She just added some ice to an ample amount of water, and then she just kind of measured it out. So we're gonna start with a 1/2 cup. And I like to spread it around a little. We're stirring to combine. That 1/2 cup is normally great. If you measured your flour a little bit heavy, you might have to add a few more tablespoons. That's why I keep my tablespoon in it. And if you were a little light on your flour, it might be a little bit sticky, and you can add a few tablespoons more of flour. Do you see how it kind of comes together when I press it? It's okay to press it together a little bit. Okay, we're gonna dump it out so you can see it. So here's kind of my main ball, and then I still have some loose flour. But when the flour does go together. It's not too dry. If you did that and it didn't come together, then you would add a little bit more water. This recipe makes a double pie crust, meaning a top and a bottom. So I'm gonna make an apple pie with this, and that's perfect for the bottom of the apple pie and the top of the apple pie. If you're making something like a pumpkin pie that only needs a 9-inch pie crust in the bottom, or pecan pie, this would make 2 of those. And the beautiful thing about pie dough is it freezes really well. So if you're only making 1 pumpkin pie, you can just pop the other one in the freezer and make another pumpkin pie, or a pecan pie, or a sugar cream pie later, or do a quiche. So this is in good shape. So I am just going to split it as evenly as I can in half. And then we're gonna form those 2 halves into nice discs. They call them flat circles. And I haven't handled it a lot, which will help that to stay cold. And you can kind of see it is flaky already. And I'm just gonna pick up my extra dough. And then I am going to refrigerate this for at least 30 minutes before using. You can refrigerate it up to 3 days. You can freeze it for up to 3 months. So if you're prepping for something like Thanksgiving, everyone's favorite holiday, mine anyways, you can make these ahead of time. There's no point in making the pie crust the day that you need them because they store so well. So in my Thanksgiving prep, I will normally make these on Monday, Tuesday, bake my pies on Wednesday. Because most pie, it doesn't hurt it to sit. You can even do this as long as like the weekend before. So I'm just gonna wrap it well in saran wrap, stick them in my fridge for 30 minutes. Okay, we're back. Our pie crust is chilled. It was in there for about 30 minutes. We're just gonna unwrap it. So I wanted to show you how to roll it out just in case you're new to homemade pie crust. It's pretty similar to store-bought. It's easy to work with, and this is especially easy to work at. So lightly flour your work surface. Then I generally flip it over so that I'm working with a floured top. You're gonna start in the middle and just be gentle. And you turn often, because that way you know it's not sticking and it helps it to be round. I learned that from Ina Gartner. She is moving, moving, moving. So if you either rotate your roll or you rotate the dough. Either way, it's going to help keep a round pie crust. And if the edges start to split a little bit, it's okay if you pick it up and pat it into place a little bit, just to help it to stay a nice round shape. And I just, oh, see, we got a little stick there. So check it really often because it's super frustrating when you get it all the way rolled out and you have a big chunk that's stuck. Like you're pretty much gonna have to re-roll it. So mine's nice and moving on the countertop. And I'm still, if it gets big enough that you're not moving the dough, then, like I said, rotate your rolling pin. We're doing little, small, I haven't even gone like edge to edge. I'm not like doing this big thing. I'm doing like little turns. And I still have that split. So I'm gonna just bend it over itself a little bit and pat it down. And check to see if it's sticking. And then I just put it over it. And it needs to hang over a couple inches because it has to fill up the side of the pan and hang over. So I'm gonna do just a hair bigger. Your pie pan, because there's so much fat, butter, and shortening in the pie crust, you do not need to grease your pie tin. There's a couple ways to get this off. Let's make sure it's nice and loose and moves. Some people you can roll it up onto your, see how you can roll it up, then you can pick it up and unroll it. I'll show you another way. My mom always folds it into quarters, and then you just put it in the corner, and you just unfold it. That's how I learned to do it. And then adjust it. Like I still have my little funny spot over here, so I'm going to gently pull it over. And this overhangs plenty. It's beautiful. Okay, if you're going to do a 2-crust pie crust, because this made 2 crusts, if you're gonna make chicken pot pie, if you're gonna make apple pie, you're gonna fill it up with what you need and set it aside. Roll out your second pie crust in just the same way. And then this is just some tap water. You're gonna wet the edge and you put your pie crust on top and then you crimp the edge. I am making a second video about apple pie. So if you want to see me do that, do a double pie crust and flute the edge of one with the top, watch that apple pie video. Today I'm gonna show you how to do a single pie crust. This guy, if I wasn't using, like say this is for pumpkin pie or pecan pie or something, this guy, keep in your freezer, use a different pie. Or you could, right, because you could roll this out and make a second one exactly like this. This is not necessarily a top and a bottom. You could have 2 bottoms or a top and a bottom. So what we do here is I like a nice even overhang. And you can use kitchen shears. So my overhang is about 1 inch from the edge of the pan, if you can see. And and that is pretty even. If it's a little bit longer than that, you can use kitchen shears or you can just tear it off. And my mom is the best. And she always re-rolled these out, and she would dust them, like just use her fingers with a little bit of water and then sprinkle cinnamon and sugar on them, and she would bake them, and she called them crusties. So you can use that for your crusties and let your kids snack on that while they're waiting for pie. So don't cut it too small, and then you're going to fold it up. You see how tall that is? That's how we get our nice pretty seam. We're actually just tucking this under the edge of the pie pan. Not hard to do. So we tuck that crust, and it's totally wonky right now. And then we're just gonna I do like a thumb and 2 fingers. My thumb is on top of the pie. So this is a nice tall edge. It'll shrink a little bit when it cooks. And so I'm just pressing my thumb into my 2 fingers. And we're just making, do you see this nice fluted edge? We're just working on top of that rim of the pie plate. We're gonna go all the way around. And this is how you make a single pie crust. So then you would fill it with your pecan pie filling, your pumpkin pie filling. You could do an eggy quiche. Be really good in this. That's all. So you just folded that under, and it's nice and tall on the edge. Do you see how tall that is? And then you're gonna fill it and you'll bake it. And follow the instructions, because some will have you pre-bake this for a minute, and you would do that. Most, you're just gonna pour in your filling and you're gonna bake it as directed. So that's how you make a pie crust. I hope that you think that that is as easy as I wanted it to be. The goal of the video it's not a complicated recipe. So the goal of the video was to take out some of the mystery of it. So now you saw how to flute the edges, how to roll it out without getting thin spots, how to put it into your pie pan. So I hope that you really learned something and that you are not afraid to make a homemade pie crust at home, because it's really, really fun. There's something really satisfying about pulling a pie out of the oven. So here's your single pie crust. And if you're interested in how to add this top and then do the pretty edge, watch the apple pie video. I'm gonna do that next.